Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Bears Talk Today, a special St. Patrick's Day edition of Bears Talk Today. Now, I do have to point out the fact that, Justin, no green on today.
I know.
I don't know if this is like an anti-Packers rebellious thing you're doing, but if that's the case, I appreciate it. But if not,
you figured me out.
Yeah, we gotta start asking some questions. But the real reason we're doing this show is because there have been a lot of transactions, a lot of news, a lot of stories that have happened to the Bears since we last talked, which was, I believe, early February was our last episode. So kind of catching up on some news. And a lot of things that went down. First off, in February, as we know, Seattle won the Super Bowl. Have to shout out the Pacific Northwest. But for the Bears specifically, there's been a lot of action in these last week or two. We're going to break that down. We're going to talk about some of the additions, some of the subtractions that the Bears have made, and where they stand about a month before the NFL draft, which will be in the middle of April. But Justin, before we get into that, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I mean, we know we've seen a lot of moves be made over the past, really since the last time we spoke.
Yeah.
And I just think Poles is doing something. And you know what? I know we'll talk about it a little bit later, but overall, I'm just happy that we're not stagnant like most years.
Yeah. No, I agree. There's definitely, it's not boring to be a Bears fan anymore. I'll say that. Like there is a lot of activity this offseason. And I think that kind of leads us to talking about, for our first topic, some of the losses that happened to the Bears.
Yeah.
And some of the but some of the players that will no longer be in Chicago next year. The biggest one being, of course, DJ Moore, who was traded along with a fifth-round pick to the Buffalo Bills in return for a second-round pick 60. Justin, I'll get your thoughts in a second, but I really thought this was a great trade for the Bears.
Yeah.
I thought getting the pick 60 in a trade for DJ Moore was phenomenal value, number one. Number two, it really was a great opportunity for the Bears to trade away a guy like DJ Moore, given his contract, given the fact that we have so many young pass catchers like Luther Burden, Rome Odunze, Colston Loveland. So you're not taking that hit of like, oh, now we are lacking depth at a position. Oh, we don't have our best player. And, we're not paying this guy. All of those things were good for the Bears, in addition to the fact that they got pick 60 in this draft. So I know Bears fans were sad to see DJ Moore go.
Yeah.
Of course, last season had a lot of highlights, a lot of big-time plays. His last play, we don't have to talk about so much.
Right.
But when you saw that the Bears were trading DJ Moore and you saw the package that they got, what was your first reaction to that?
Honestly, I was shocked. I mean, I know there was, especially once the season had ended and the rumors started getting louder, I wasn't really sure if the Bears were going to do anything at all. In true Bears fashion, beforehand, I would have thought, they'll just keep him, re-sign him, and then we'll have to get rid of one of our younger core players. But they actually made a smart move, right? I mean, I think for us, it's important that we use this year's draft. We're not going to get a high draft pick like we have in the past couple of years, so it's going to be really important to go through this draft and pick out some gems in the rough. So overall, I was more surprised from it. I didn't think the Bears would pull the trigger. I thought they would kind of hold on to DJ Moore as long as they can, given the factor of how impactful he was in the playoffs in both ways, ironically. But yeah, I just thought overall, I thought it was a good trade too. It wasn't like we gave up the whole kitchen shelf and we gave up all of our assets. I mean, it was literally just DJ Moore. We give back some picks. I mean, hopefully, it in retrospect, it almost gives Josh Allen no more excuses because it's like you have all these weapons and you have DJ Moore. So we'll see how that turns out. But overall, I thought it was a really good trade.
Yeah, that's the Bills' problem now.
Yeah.
No, I agree with you. I think DJ Moore was a player. It was a good trade for the Bears. It's something that turned out well. I think I want to jump to a trade that the Bears didn't make.
Yeah.
And a trade that I guess technically now nobody made, right?
Yeah.
Which was Max Crosby. The Bears have and still have a big need at edge rusher. And the big fish floating around the rumor mill was Max Crosby. And in the weeks leading up to free agency, it sounded like the Bears were in and the Cowboys were in and the Jaguars were in. And then all of a sudden the Ravens, like a piranha, just snapped him up. And they traded away pick 14 and a next year first-round pick. And I'm like, wow, that's a big offer. The Ravens clearly liked him a lot until they didn't. Until they renounced the trade.
They snatched their chain back.
They said, psych, I'm taking my 14th pick back. Eric DeCosta is, probably public enemy number one for that. But that now becomes, I think, an interesting topic because I thought the Bears, I've been blowing up Justin before that. I was like, Bears are getting Crosby, Bears are getting Crosby, Bears are getting Crosby. They didn't get Crosby.
No.
But now, do they kind of still have a chance to get Crosby? I feel less confident that I do about it than I did in previous weeks because obviously there is the issue with the knee, which isn't necessarily new information. Like, we knew that his knee, had just had surgery on there and everything like that. But from a perspective of, our resources, both financial and draft capital wise, do you think it would still, on this current day, make sense to pursue a trade for Max Crosby if you're the Bears?
I know I'm going to get some flack for this, but I say no. I also wanted to ask you as well. I'm like, have you ever seen that in the NFL before? I've seen this in other leagues where, in the NBA a couple of years back, they vetoed the Kobe Bryant and Chris Paul trade. Yeah. But at first I had to do some research because I'm like, if a trade gets voided or a team rescinds a trade, is that player still tradable? I'm assuming.
Yeah, because they did it before the league year began, so they agreed. They agreed in principle, right? It was a handshake agreement.
Sure, yeah.
And then when the new league year began, and it was time to put pen to paper, they didn't put pen to paper, and the Ravens were like, "No, they took the pen out of the office." But to your first question, like I have never seen that. I have never seen an agreement that was handshake.
Graphics made of the other players.
We got the PR teams working on stuff. Max Crosby's on his podcast talking about
saying goodbye.
And then it just doesn't happen. Like that I've never seen.
Yeah.
Maybe it's happened on a minor scale, like we were going to swap a guy for a 7th round pick and it didn't work out, whatever. But not for a guy who was getting 2 first-round picks, not one of the best pass rushers in the NFL.
No, but those Max Crosby Ravens jerseys are going to go triple platinum now. So.
Yeah, they are. I also think it's so funny that he immediately tweeted, "I love to be a Raider," this, that, whatever.
Yeah, I was like, get out of here, dude. Good and well you wanted to go to a winning team, and now you're trying to stand on business. I mean, overall, though, I think, like, for my own thoughts about it, I think that when you look at a team like the Baltimore Ravens, we know that defense wasn't one of their strongest ones. Now, I know that they ended up signing Trey Hendrickson, which is really good pickups.
I don't know. Suspicious though.
Yeah, I know it is a little suspicious though. So I get that, but
we immediately renounced a trade for Max Crosby and then signed the top free agent edge rusher.
What is that meme with the guy and girl, and then the guy looks back and it's the girl? You got to put like
yeah.
That's exactly
the
what
Riddler
happened.
meme from Batman. It's like, what does he know?
What does he know? Does he know anything?
But again, maybe we're looking into another trade down the line for Max Crosby, but I'm with you. I don't know if it'll be the Bears. Adam Schefter said recently that the Bears don't have the cash to bring him in.
Yeah.
And by that, he doesn't mean salary cap. He meant cold, hard American USD from our owner, George McCaskey. So we'll figure that out maybe down the line. But a trade the Bears did make, and the last kind of addition I want to talk about until we get into free agency was Garrett Bradbury. After the sudden and, quite frankly, surprising retirement of Drew Dalman, the Bears all of a sudden had a big need at center. That was a position that we had a need at for a long time. It was shored up last year by Drew Dalman. He played at a Pro Bowl level, and then he just retired. And I don't know quite the reason why he retired.
I was going to say, let's get into that for a little bit.
Yeah.
It was just very, very shocking. I could see if he was in his mid-30s, and I get it. I think of a guy like Andrew Wentworth.
Yeah.
Andrew Wentworth, I'm like, sometimes names screw me up. But, I think of a guy like him where he played late into his career and stuff like that. And you just don't see.
41.
Yeah, he was 41.
Yeah,
you don't see a lot of centers go out there and just be like, I'm going to play till I'm 38, 40. They take a lot of damage and a lot of hits being, a part of that offensive line. So, personally, I hope he's okay. I know he's set for life now, which is great. But, yeah, that was a huge shocker. I was not expecting him to just retire after 1 year. I guess his money was guaranteed, and he was he's like, I'm out. Peace.
Yeah, but because of that, the Bears went to the New England Patriots, and they traded a 5th-round pick for Garrett Bradbury.
Yeah.
Garrett Bradbury, I would say he's a solid center. I don't think he's anything spectacular. Certainly
just don't look at
the Super Bowl.
Super Bowl footage.
Don't watch Super Bowl. Honestly, if you're a Patriots fan in any regard, Drake May, Stephon Diggs, he's having a rough few weeks. Sorry, Cardi B, but if you're don't watch any of the Patriots film from the Super Bowl. Just burn it in a hole and dig it away. But
didn't exist.
Garrett Bradbury, I'd say solid center. Not going to blow you away. Certainly not as good as Drew Dalman. There were rumors that the Bears were going to be heavily involved for Tyler Linderbaum. Seeing what he got from the Raiders, I'm glad they didn't. I don't know that the Bears could afford to give a center $28 million. That's kind of ridiculous, but neither here nor there. So those are kind of some of the additions that the Bears made. But a lot of people are making noise about some of the subtractions that happened with the Bears. I'm going to read off the list, and then we can kind of go back and talk about some of them. First of all, Deshaun Wright went to the Jets. Jaquan Brisker signed with the Steelers. Kevin Byard went to the New England Patriots. Tremaine Edmonds was released by us to save salary cap and then signed with the New York Giants. Jonathan Owens, Simone Biles' husband, sorry to do it to you, Colts. C.J. Gardner-Johnson went to the Bills. Devin Duvernay went to the Cardinals. So when you combine that with the loss of Drew Dahlman and DJ Moore, are there really any additions here that scare you, or of any of like big concern where you're like, man, we're not going to be able to replicate this guy's production, or this guy's going to be really missed, or et cetera? Do any of those moves kind of say that to you, Justin?
I mean, if you really want to look at some of these losses, the only one that stands out to me is Kevin Byard.
Yeah.
I think when you look at a guy who, really led the team, not only as, one of the top guys on our defensive roster. I mean, he was such an impactful guy with his interceptions. I mean, but also as well, I think about it like the Detroit Lions, right? When 2 seasons ago, when they had their successful season and all their coaching staff went away, Ben Johnson, and all the other guys and stuff like that. So I think this was warranted. I think when you are really, really good and you head into a free agency, a lot of teams are going to want to sign you. A lot of teams are going to want to have you be a part of that winning culture that you had with the Chicago Bears, which is an insane statement to say. But I say all that to say that it's not a surprise. I knew that it's hard to keep our defense. I feel like throughout the season our defense was probably a B-, but then really once you got to the end of the season, it felt horrible. It just fell apart. It was injury ridden. A lot of these guys on this list were consistent all year long, really, except for Kevin Byard, maybe.
Yeah, I agree.
And so it's not a concern. I mean, when you are a really good team, there will be other teams that want to sign your players, and unfortunately, it's so hard. It really in any major league sport to keep the same roster every single year.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Kenneth Walker. I mean, nobody expected him to go to the Chiefs,
Thanks for throwing that out. Appreciate you, dude. Yeah, Super Bowl MVP leaving, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree. Like, Kevin Byard, to me, of that list, is the one that concerns me the most. Obviously, he's going to New England, pairing up with Mike Vrabel, his former coach in Tennessee. I don't see any of these guys as like, oh, man, we lost Deshaun Wright. Deshaun Wright had a highlight-riddled year.
Yeah, he was
getting cooked a lot, though.
He was.
Like, you can look at the interceptions and you can look at the turnovers, and they did change games, and they were big for our season. So I'm not going to say he was a bad player, because when you make when you make those plays as consistently as he did, you cannot be a bad player.
No.
But down to down, very inconsistent.
Yeah.
Very variable. So I understand why the Bears didn't bring him back. I will say, Justin, of all the players I mentioned, they all signed 1-year deals. Yeah. Nobody got multi-year deals in free agency. That should tell you kind of what the market thought of a few of these guys. Again, I like Brisker. Brisker wasn't healthy and hasn't been healthy a lot in his tenure in Chicago. Signed, I believe it was a $5.5 million deal. Yeah. Kevin Byard, like I said, is the only one that does agitate me a little bit, because the Bears have a need at safety for sure. But Kevin Byard, he's a good player, not a spectacular player. I would say he's getting a little older. So I imagine they want a youth movement on that side of the ball.
Yeah, and I think also, too, when you look at it as well, like you made a good point. They all signed 1-year deals, and that's as good as their production was. That was probably some of their best productions. A lot of these guys had career highs last season. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not mad at those teams for giving rental, right? Because I mean, the NFL, you could have one good year and you could have one bad year. So I get it.
Yeah. So nothing too crazy, I think, on the departure end for the Bears. Yeah. Now let's talk about some of the money they spent, some of the players they signed in free agency. Biggest contract they gave out was to Kobe Bryant. No, not the basketball player. Kobe Bryant, the safety from the Super Bowl champion Seattle Seahawks. They gave him 3 years for $40 million. I want to talk about him for a second, because when that dropped, that was one of my favorite deals out of all free agency, period, but especially for the Bears. Yeah. Having a need at safety, like I just mentioned, bringing in a guy who just won a Super Bowl, just played under a phenomenal defense. Yeah. This is a guy, I think he's very versatile. You can play him all over the place. I think he's good in coverage. I think you can play him up closer to the line of scrimmage. Yeah. Probably don't want to play him at linebacker necessarily, because he is a little bit smaller. But this is a guy who was a college corner, transitioned to safety. I am very happy at the thought of what he's going to be able to do in this Dennis Allen defense. Going to be able to move all over the field. The Bears got him for a reasonable price. $13 million a year is very reasonable. So I think you kind of took advantage of the fact that he was one of the more underrated players on that Seattle defense. Bringing him into Chicago, filling a need, not breaking the bank. I love this deal. This was the biggest deal the Bears gave out. So I think they did a great job with the Kobe Bryant deal.
No, I agree. I just think when you look at some of the biggest, struggles or holes was our defense, and definitely, a lot of times, especially when you not only look at our division, but when you look at just the NFL in itself, we are going to have games where we're going to have to win with our defense. Caleb Williams cannot. I mean,
there's only so many fourth downs he can convert.
Right?
There's only so many.
There's only so many Hail Mary tosses with your back turned into the we have to start playing. I can't even think of the word.
Complimentary.
Yeah, we go. Complimentary football.
I got you.
Where it's
we're locked in.
Yeah, I know. We're like this. Yeah. Where it's we have to be able to come in and win the game the right way. So
yeah. So Kobe Bryant was their biggest splash. We both are in favor of it. Their second biggest splash, Devin Bush, 3 years, $30 million, linebacker, most recently of the Cleveland Browns. I didn't love this one. I'm going to be honest. I am not a big Devin Bush guy. I thought, he definitely had his best season of his career last year.
He did.
But throughout the course of his career has not been a consistently good player. Has dealt with injuries. He was in kind of major bust territory for a while until he got this opportunity with Cleveland.
Yeah.
I understand we have a need at linebacker, but if you're telling me, would you rather have Devin Bush for 3 years, $30 million, or Traymon Edmonds for 3 years, $36 million? I'd take Edmonds. And, I'm not naive. I understand the cap is situated a little differently, and maybe there was some bad blood after we released Traymon Edmonds. I get it. But to me, this is not money well spent. This is not a guy who I think is going to be an impact player on your defense.
No.
I didn't love it. I'll be blunt. I did not love it. I don't know if you have anything to say in conjunction with that, but I was not a big fan of the Devin Bush signing.
Yeah, I think overall, I mean, you made a good point. I think he can definitely be able to. Well, I'll say this: I think he can definitely be able to perform better.
Yeah.
In the Dennis Allen defensive system.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to be a bona fide star.
No.
I just don't see it. But I think when you look at this list as well, it's also kind of building depth, which we need.
Yeah.
Just in case. I mean,
that's true.
We had such an injury-riddled season last year where it's this defensive end is out or this person's out, and we got, our depth chart is looking thin or,
They had me and you playing linebacker last month of the year, man. It was crazy.
Right. Yeah, they literally did. So when you look at this team and when you look at what they're doing, I mean, am I over the moon about Devin Bush? No. But I think it could be worse. It could be worse. And I'm trying to remain optimistic.
Yeah, to your point, talking about depth, they did re-sign DeMarco Jackson 2 years, $7.5 million. I would imagine that they're going to take a linebacker or 2 or 3 or 4 in the draft. I think that's a big position of need for them. Another big position of need is the defensive line. They signed Neville Gallimore, 2 years, $12 million. I'll learn how to pronounce that name eventually. But I think that's kind of what you were just saying, where it's like, this guy to be a stud? Is this guy going to get 10 sacks? Is he going to be game-wrecking? No. Just depth.
Yeah,
depth
really.
On the defensive line, you can never have enough. Although we do have a motivated Dio Odangbo now. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Motivated Dio Odangbo. Probably don't need any depth, but, it is what it is, I guess. One thing I want to point out that I thought was really interesting that the Bears did is they signed 2 left tackles to 1-year deals.
Yeah.
Now,
that was weird.
One of the worst parts about the Packers game, the playoff game, the only bad part, really,
right?
Because we beat Green Bay after losing 21-3. I don't know if anybody told you that.
Yeah,
was losing Ozzie Trepillo, not only for that game, not only for the season, but for likely this whole entire upcoming season. Yeah. He tore his patellar tendon, brutal injury for a guy who was really coming on strong in the second half of the year. So the Bears clearly have a plan, I think, for him to be the left tackle of the future. But for the immediate future, they need to get that position shored up. So they signed Braxton Jones back, 1 year's $10 million deal. And a very interesting name, kind of a blast from the past a little bit, Jedrick Willis, the former Alabama Crimson Tide left tackle, a guy who was taken top 10 in the draft, hasn't played in a long time because of injuries. And signing with the Bears is, to me, a low-risk, high-reward move.
It is.
He took a year off to deal with his injuries, so maybe he's back to the player that he was.
Yeah.
Maybe, the injuries have taken their toll. Who knows? Very low risk, so it doesn't really bother me if this blows up. But like you said, depth, getting a starter, I bet you those 2 guys will be competing in camp for a spot.
Yeah.
Another free agent another free agent they got back was Case Keenum, bringing him back on a 2-year, $5 million deal.
Yeah.
But Justin, when I read you those names, Kobe Bryant obviously is a good player, but do you think the Bears kind of had an underwhelming free agency? Do you think they should have gone out and, for lack of a better term, gotten some more sexy names? Like, is there a little lack of substance here in this free agent class, in your opinion?
I would say if we didn't sign Kobe Bryant and a couple of other of these names, I would say so. But I see it more of like a puzzle piece, right? So let's build the puzzle together and get all the pieces that are able to show us something. Versus, if we spend all our money on, getting Max Crosby, then we're weak at this position, weak at that point. Like I said before, the Bears are trying to build depth, and you know what this means. You're gonna take some risk on some players, or you're gonna sign some names that aren't going to be the most flashiest out there.
Yeah, and
that's okay. You know what? I feel like with what Ryan Poles and Ben Johnson are doing is they're playing chess, not checkers. They're coming in here and saying, you know what? We're not going to sign the flashiest of names because you know what? That's not what we're here to do. This is a one man sound, and you have to come out there and be able to have every position filled to the best of your ability.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times when you look at last season and you just roll the tape, we got exposed defensively badly.
Our depth was bad.
Our depth was bad. And I'd rather us have depth like when you look at the Seahawks, for example. That's depth. I hate you. That's depth. That's 100% depth. Those are guys, it doesn't matter, who gets hurt, next man up, they're going to come out there and they're going to make an impact.
Well, yeah, and we saw that last year. The Seahawks are a great example of this, unironically, independent of me, because the Seahawks don't have a Myles Garrett. Nope. They don't have a Max Crosby. They don't have a Michael Parsons. But they have like 7 guys that can go out and get quality pressure. Yeah. They can go out, they stop the run. So their strength is not in their best player.
No.
Their strength is in they have 7 guys that are really good.
Yeah.
And that maybe a lot of times is better than having a Myles Garrett or a Michael Parsons or whatever. I agree, independent of last season, because last season was kind of an aberration.
Yeah.
A lot of the time, the team that spends the most free agency doesn't really get much better.
No.
You're paying 150 cents on the dollar for free agents. You're not exactly getting the greatest value. So I don't mind that the Bears didn't spend a whole lot of money.
Yeah.
But what that means now is we move towards April and the draft. That means they have to nail the draft. So before we get into the draft, give me your grade for King Poles so far in the offseason. Since their season ended against the Rams until St. Patrick's Day today, not even considering the draft just yet, what is your grade for King Poles?
Man, I will have to say it's a B+. Now, I think overall we've made some, like I said, the Kobe Bryant Kobe Bryant addition was something that was really, really a solid, great pickup. You have a guy who will make an impact immediately. I thought that was really good. So you can kind of tell where their mindset is going. It's not like they signed another running back or another tight end or somebody on offense like in true Bears fashion in years before. No, they know their priorities straight. And that makes me feel good as a fan to know that, you know what, they know and they are aware and they know of what's going on and they know that we need to beef up our defense in that depth. And I'm okay with that.
Now, do you feel confident in the Bears going into the draft as we transition into the draft and training camp and the start of the season? If you had like a barometer of confidence, what's the barometer at right now?
If I had to give this out of 10, it's probably 7.5. I really have to see what we do in this draft.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the defensive end section needs to be it needs to be pretty much perfect. I mean, that is the one piece that I feel like that can get us to be a contender, right? Especially when you look at the last game against the Rams. I felt like, yes, it was tough conditions. Yes, it was a lot going on in that game. But imagine if we had a dominant defensive end that just eliminated Matt Stafford.
Yeah. You mean kill him? That what you mean by
take him out? No.
Yeah. Right.
Or that. I'm sorry. That
we just eliminate Matt Stafford.
Just like Thanos snap.
Should have done that to Aaron Rodgers 10 years ago.
I know,
man.
right?
Jeez.
No, but that is the one piece that I feel like that can get us to a Super Bowl, that can potentially win us a Super Bowl, right?
Yeah.
And we saw that in the Super Bowl itself. Defense wins championships, and that's something that honestly, a lot of these older Bears teams, were known for. So why don't we get back to that, and have a good offense too? I'm not trying to say get rid of the offense.
Well, of course, when we finally have a quarterback, that's when our defense just falls to pieces. And okay, cool. But no, I'm in agreement with you. I think I have a decent amount of confidence. Yeah. Like Ryan Poles, inconsistent, yes, but he's shown that he does, to a certain degree, know what he's doing. I like the direction that Ben Johnson's taking this team. I bet you he's going to have a lot of influence over the draft because last year he was obviously in the building for the draft and before the draft, but this is his first year having had coached the Bears for a year. Yeah. Now he kind of knows what he has on his roster, what he needs, what he's going to want. Before it was just kind of what he saw on tape and everything like that. Yeah. So I am confident. I would say I'm in like an 8.5. If the most right green is like I guarantee they're winning the Super Bowl, and the most left red is like I think they should sell the team. I'm probably like I'm hovering around like right here. You know what I mean? I'm hovering. We are not building the statue for Caleb yet, but we're starting to measure a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But we talked. You kind of skipped ahead, which I appreciate because I was about to ask you like what players or positions do you think the Bears need to address in the draft? I completely agree. Defensive line, defensive line, defensive back, linebacker. For you baseball fans out there, you might know the Angels a couple of years ago went an entire draft of baseball and only taking pitchers.
I remember that, yeah.
It was no position players at all. Pitchers, and they still all suck. But the point is, they had a huge need of pitcher. They said, we're just going to dedicate an entire draft to taking pitcher. I would not be mad, not even one iota, if the Bears said, we aren't taking a single offensive player in the draft.
We don't need it.
Yeah. We don't really need it.
We don't need it.
We don't really need it. So for the Bears to just devote all possible resources to defense, I think would be very smart. But Justin, before we get out of here, I have to ask you, in a fantasy world, if Justin was running the Bears, if you and King Poles were working in tandem, what's one move that you would do to make the Bears a better team for next season?
Well, I mean, I know this is ironic because in the beginning I said no, but if it all worked out and we were able to keep a lot of our core, then I would definitely try to get Max Crosby. You saw how he was against the Raiders game. He was killing Caleb in the first 3 or 4 quarters, right? So I think and a lot of people are like, well, yeah, Khalil Mack, but that was a little bit different, and I feel like
Khalil Mack was great on the Bears.
He was great on the Bears, but I also feel like Max Crosby would be a little bit better. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, we also had Mitch Trubisky when
right. So there's only so much Khalil Mack could have done for our.
There's only so many sacks he could get. You can't score that many touchdowns.
No, I mean, I think if you're looking at this. I mean, that or either Myles Garrett will be another one, but I think he just loves money and doesn't like to win, so he's not going anywhere anytime soon.
We might have to. Ryan Poles might have to give him like the naming rights to his firstborn son.
Exactly.
Yeah, if we're gonna get Myles Garrett, I don't know that there's enough first-round draft picks for the rest of our life to get Myles Garrett. So
no, and
that might be difficult.
Yeah, I don't think he's leaving Cleveland anytime
Tell him
soon.
We'll take on the Deshaun Watson contract. We'll take all the money. We'll take on all the money. Give us Deshaun and Myles Garrett, we'll give you like a 7th. See if Andrew Berry hangs up the phone. Yeah. But I went a little bit smaller. I went the same direction, but I went a little bit smaller. I think we should call the New York Giants and try to get Kayvon Thibodeau. Ooh, okay. That's, to me, a guy who was a top 5 pick in the draft in 2022, has never really reached his full potential. And I think with the Giants' defensive line situation, he is kind of like DJ Moore. He's expendable. Yeah. And so I don't know that the Bears are going to have to give up an arm and a leg to go get him. Again, this is a player who was highly sought after on the draft. And you saw glimpses of it, but again, he hasn't put it all together. Yeah. I think pairing him up on this Bears defense alongside Montez Sweat he'd hopefully be able to make an impact. Yeah. And again, I don't think this is something, I think you could probably get it done for a 3rd or a 4th. I don't know that Kayvon Thibodeau is a really expensive player. The upside is there, as we know, being a highly touted pick. He's going to be due for a new contract here in a little bit, but I think Kayvon Thibodeau would be a player. When you talk about our resources, when you talk about our needs, that would be a player that could make an impact on the Bears in 2026. But, Justin, I think that just about does it. We're going to have our big draft episode as we do every year.
Sure will.
This will be our 3rd one. Be very exciting. Right? It will be our 3rd one? Yeah, it'll be our 3rd one. So we're going to be breaking down everything the Bears do in the draft, who they drafted, who they could have drafted, why they didn't draft this person, and why Ryan Poles needs to be fired, because that's probably the reaction we're going to have. I'm, of course, kidding. But, stay tuned for that. Thank you guys for watching this episode of Bears Talk today. We'll see you guys next week. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Make sure to wear green, unlike Justin. Yeah, sorry, guys. I'll get a green shirt. Don't worry. Next episode. St. Patrick's Day next year.